Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. This Shabbos and shul, I learned one of the most important lessons in my life. But I first want to tell you something. As we leave Tisha B'Av, we go from the saddest day of the year to days of joy, of happiness. You of course know the story. The reason why the temple was destroyed is because there was baseless hate amongst the Jews. And the rabbis say that in order to merit the rebuilding of the temple, we need to have unconditional love to make up for the baseless hatred. But it's interesting because anyone that studied the laws of Tisha B'Av, there's many things that we could and can't do on the fast day that we had yesterday when we mourned the destruction of two temples by the Babylonians and the Romans. It's the saddest day of the year. And one of the laws the rabbis tell us is that it's not a day when you say hello and welcome others, or vice versa, or people say hi to you, and it's not a chit-chatter day. And the rabbis say because it's really not a day of peace and warmth and welcoming, it's a day of sadness. The question, of course, arises, if the temple was destroyed because there was baseless hatred, and the temple will be rebuilt because there's unconditional love, should that not tell you that we should actually be reaching out to people on Tisha B'Av and shaking their hand and hugging them and embracing them? Why are we telling people not to say hello and not to welcome each other? What's going on? And there's many answers given to this, but maybe one of the answers might be that the Torah wants that for one day, for 24 hours, we should feel what it means to be alone, what it means to be disconnected from people, what it means not to be maybe the biggest extrovert and the most popular person, where people come and say hi and welcome you. You know, we're in a shul, in our Chavad, we're proud that every time a person comes in, they're always welcomed and there's a warm welcome. But think about the people that go unnoticed. Think about the people that don't have many friends, that don't have big families, that don't have a social network. Maybe the way we get to unconditional love and to rebuilding of the temple is for one day of 24 hours, feeling what those people feel. So maybe that's the reason why in Tisha B'Av we don't shake each other's hands, we don't welcome, we don't greet each other, we don't embrace each other, because we're really trying to put ourselves in the shoes of that lonely person, that person who is maybe an outcast. You know, usually, very often we get guests visiting from Israel and from other places. And over the last few weeks, we had this guest in shul who was actually here with his wife and children visiting his aunt. And he was a lovely guy. He had a limp to him and a speech impediment. It was hard to understand what he spoke. And he came to shul a few weeks and we welcomed him. But, you know, I think the first week he got an aliyah and we chatted, but didn't really find out much about him. On Shabbos, he comes over to me after Kiddush this week when he's getting ready to leave. And he looks at me and he says, you know, I am from what the Rebbe called the Mitzuyanei Tzahal, the exemplary of Tzahal. Now let me explain to you what this is. I might have told you about it before. But in the 1970s, there was an organization formed called Nechei Tzahal, for the handicapped of Israel, for all those who were wounded and maimed in the wars of aggression against Israel. And these people, a group of them, came to the Rebbe for the first time. I think it was the late 70s or the 80s. And the Rebbe said, how come these people who gave their life defending, or gave limbs, literally sacrificed their lives defending our people, are called Nechei Tzahal, the handicapped of Israel? Should they not be called the Mitzuyanei Tzahal, the exemplary of Israel? And that's actually what happened. They changed the name from Nechei Tzahal to Mitzuyanei Tzahal. So this guy tells me, you know, Rabbi, I'm from those people. I said, what do you mean? He says, in the expulsion of Gush Katif, when the Jews were expelled from Gush Katif, which, of course, we all know today was a tremendous catastrophe. The last war we just had, the last issue we had with Islamic Jihad, and we've been having with Hamas, with rockets coming from Gush Katif, which we just left. But we're not going to get into that discussion now, but he said that he was a soldier then, and he got hit by shrapnel. And he was in a coma for 40 days. And he says more than one time, twice or three times, they called his family to come say goodbye to him. But miraculously, he survived. and he built a family. And to me, this guy went unnoticed in our shul. No one gave him the attention he deserved. No one gave him the respect he needed. And it hurt me so much when I heard this story and I knew he was leaving the next day. And I only wished that I had given him the proper respect and welcome that he deserved. But then the story went further. As I was saying the story yesterday at the end of Tisha B'Av in shul, one of the guys says, Rabbi, this story goes even more. Our friend Michael Myrovich told me that this man told him that the rabbi who officiated at his wedding was the same rabbi who officiated Michael Myrovich's wedding. This other guy sitting in shul, and he says, Mendy, his rabbi, I didn't even know this, but he told me that the rabbi himself is Mitzuyanei Tzahal. He was injured and handicapped in the Israeli army. And Michael looks at me and says, Rabbi, I never knew this. He was my rabbi, he officiated my wedding, and I wish I knew it. And these two stories taught me something so importantly, besides the fact of the self-sacrifice this guy had for our country, for our people, and the humility he had, and the pride he had in it. It taught me that every human being and every person deserves and needs the respect, the embrace, like they are the exemplary of Tzahal, because each person has a story, each person has a life, each person has experiences that contributed to who they became and who they are. And you know, Tisha B'Av is over. We're going now to some of the happiest day of the year. On Thursday is Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, when we celebrate the singles and marriage and love and joy. May Hashem give us to always have simchas, but when we never forget about that loner and shul and make sure that he feels comfortable. God bless you. Have a great day.